Welcome everyone. It is 17th of November 2021. This is question time. Very excited for today's session. A lot to go through. 17th of November means that we are just over 1 month before Christmas. I remember this easily because it's my daughter's birthday weekend after this one coming. And that always means that 25th of November, 25th of December is only just a stone's throw away. So for those of you that are trying to get a place before Christmas, the countdown is on. Those of you that want to plan for a big year next year, the countdown is on to get yourself set. Or those of you that are just looking forward to having a Christmas party, a break, whatever it is, there isn't too long to go. Normally this time of year, I say, everyone's been working hard, stressed out and needs a break. However, for most of us here in Melbourne and those of you in Sydney, are probably sick of their homes and are not as excited as we may previously have been in years gone by to spend a bit more time at home and get away from the office. Hopefully everyone has dropped in now. I was really just wasting time to let everyone drop in. So welcome Facebook viewers, you should be live there now. And of course, welcome to everyone live on Zoom. I'm just having a look at my computer. I can see a lot of names dropping in, familiar names. Bobby, John, Pat, Jessica, Susan, Tony, Ben. Welcome everyone. It's hard to keep going through as everyone's moving, but as always, we've got a big show for you today. So make sure you focus, get the most out of today's session, be involved, get your questions going, and very, very much excited to have all of you here. And of course, I hope to see you guys join us again. So let's jump in and start off as always, just to get everyone loose and fluid. If we're doing this face-to-face, we might, look at the person next to you. So if you are watching this with someone, I want to ask all of you a question first. What's more important, information or knowledge? Take a moment. Obviously, regular viewers, you'll know the answer. But those of you that haven't joined before, just take a moment, think, is it information or knowledge that you think is going to win the day? All right, take a few more seconds. Put your finger on the screen to whichever one it is. Keep yourself honest. The answer is knowledge. Now, why do I say knowledge? Well, the reason I say this is really, really important concept, and that's what today's session is all about. Information in itself isn't going to get you anywhere because information, we're in what we call the information age. There is a ton of information out there, and it's really just organized data about something. What is more important is how you're able to consume that information, process it, and turn it into knowledge. Because knowledge is an understanding through education and experience. And that's what's really important, because when information is everywhere and accessible to everyone, you need to be able to determine what is useful information, what is average information, and what is terrible information, and then actually work out if it's relevant to you and what it means you should be doing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is knowledge. And that is the key theme of today's session. That is why we do question time, is to be able to help you, break down the framework, understand the system that we use, throw all of your questions at us so that you understand the difference between information and knowledge. And importantly, you can build up your own database of knowledge and turn that into actionable knowledge. That is, have certain things that you know and understand. When you see these happening or you find out about it, that you take certain steps. So whether that mean all of a sudden you decide to take the plunge and buy that first home, or increase your rent if you're an investor, whatever it might be, when you see certain signs, you're able to take that action. And that's what's really, really important. And hopefully that's what you get out of today's session, is that understanding of the system that we use, and of course, answers to any of your questions. So a little bit about me. I didn't always start like this. I understand the pain of, being homeless, getting kicked out of your place, finding that someone hasn't paid the rent, constantly moving, not having a solid base. So, I remember back in, I think it was the late 90s, just moved into a new place for a couple of months. It was great. We'd been out, had a bit of a big night the night before, and early morning, there was a knocking on the door. I was the only person that got up in this house. And to my surprise, it was a landlord, and in his hand, he had an eviction notice. Now, I couldn't quite understand this at first. I obviously was feeling very hungover and not quite awake. Basically, he said that we hadn't paid rent for the last 4 months. Now, that was a shock to me because I'd been giving my rent in cash, and so had my other friend that'd been there too, the one person, and he was then going to the real estate agent office and paying that rent every month. Surprise, surprise, he hadn't been paying the rent and he'd spent all of our money on partying and enjoying himself. So what happened? We got kicked out, and it was a really, really tough time because, not only did I still owe this rental money, that money was gone. I then didn't have a place, and it was really, really tough. So I've sort of been there. I've understood how hard that can be and how important it is to have that safety, of having a home, being able to create great memories like this, having a family, raising a family there, having some security is really, really important. But it isn't easy. It takes hard work. It takes a lot of effort. And hopefully, we can help you through today's session. And those of you that want to get more involved with us, we can help you as to get through that home ownership journey and how it means for you. So, right now, I own my own home. I own multiple investment properties. And it's been a long journey, but a tough journey. But, I'd love to help all of you that are on today's line, wherever you are, really turbocharge that spot where you are and achieve the goals that you want to do. So, for those of you that are wondering, is this right for me? It doesn't matter where you are on this journey. Today's session has got something for everyone. So, if you're a first home buyer, we've got you covered. You're right at the start of that journey. Looking to buy your first investment property, or perhaps you're a seasoned and experienced investor with multiple properties, today's session will have something for all of you. It doesn't really matter where you are. The principles, the concepts, and everything that we talk about today are just as valuable for someone looking for their first home as they are for the other end of the scale for someone with 3 or 4 investment properties that believes they might know it all. And that could be true. But I guarantee if you focus and get involved today, you will leave today with value and have something to be able to leverage off and move forward with. So we're going to go for about 30 to 40 minutes today. I'm going to try and get you out of here by 10 past 3, depending on how many questions we get. Sometimes we do go a little bit over, so I apologise if you've got to run off. Sometimes we stick to time. It really just depends as to how many questions we get. So first up, I'm going to run through what I call the information portion. So section 1, we'll go for about 5 minutes, and that's really where I just throw a ton of information at you, what I've seen happening over the last 7 days. I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to regurgitate it out there, get you thinking. This is where I want you to start putting your questions in the Q&A, get set, be at the top of that list, and really thinking as to what some of this might mean for you and anything else that you've seen. It doesn't have to be just what I talk about. This is really just sort of a starter for you. Then we're going to move into the section 2, the main part, the knowledge part of today's session. And that's where we're going to answer all of your questions live. Just a caveat, those of you that are on Facebook, put your questions in the comment. Just given the technology limitations, I won't be able to answer those live, but we will answer your questions in the comments. And feel free to join us on Zoom. It's the place to be. You obviously get the best access and you get to have your questions answered live. That'll go for 20 to 25 minutes, as I said, depending on how many questions we get and the level of involvement and focus we get from all of you. And then I just want to close out with a few thoughts on the next step. So, it's great to talk about, give you some answers, give you some knowledge, but what do you do with all of that? How do you put it all together? And what do you do as your next step out there in terms of what you should be doing and what you should be achieving? So that'll go for about 5 minutes and wrap it up. It'll be quick, short and sharp. And then we'll obviously hang around after if anyone's still got more questions or wants to have a further chat, we will do that. Otherwise, we are here every single week, so feel free to tune back in anytime that you like. Okay, introduction done. We're going to get stuck into it. So this will be section 1. These are the main themes that I've seen happening this last 7 days. Holiday homes are finally starting to see a slowdown in the thirst for buying those that we've had from people. What does that mean? Let's chat about that a little bit more. Search terms that we're seeing from these major listing portals. What are the changes and why? Pros and cons of mortgage splitting. We'll talk about that. We've been talking about interest rates for at least the last 2 years. More listings, what does that mean for people? Is it good, bad, indifferent? And then super. Obviously, as more and more people are looking to get back in and buy an investment property, using your own superannuation money can be a good alternative. So we'll run through some pros and cons there for you as well. Okay, what do we see clearance rates on the weekend? So last weekend's results were pretty good. We had a national clearance rate of 75%. I might just share these again. I had a few people, I forgot to do it last week, asked me to share these so you can see them on the big screen. Hopefully, Greg, just give me a thumbs up. I've shared the right screen. Good. I can't see what I'm sharing, so sometimes I share something silly. So as I said, 75% was the national clearance rate. Really, really good results. Sydney, Melbourne, 75 and 74% respectively. Huge numbers. Again, I think this was the second busiest week this year. Those of you that are tuning in every week might hear me keep saying that. Well, we keep one-upping ourselves. So over 3,500 auctions occurred during the week. And we had Super Saturday in Sydney and Melbourne. So just under 1,300 auctions in Sydney and 1,556 auctions in Melbourne. So that's really strong results. Those of you that are unsure, we are seeing more transactions happen, but we're still seeing really, really good clearance rates. There is a bit of chat, a bit of worry. I wouldn't be too concerned about it, and we will talk about it a little bit more. But just remember that just because we were seeing, close to or above 80% for a long period of time, that is unseen, unheard of. That is a huge rate. Basically, anything over 60% is still what we call a seller's market. So, the mid-70s is a really, really strong result. I went through in detail last week, so I'm just going to skip over this quickly for those of you that haven't seen this before. This is from realestate.com. The reason I like to show this is the volume of transactions that we've seen. The red line is 2021, the blue line is last year, 2020, and the grey line is 2019. The reason why I like to sort of share this with everyone is that it sort of shows, we always talk about the depth of the market. So it's one thing to see these results coming through, to see price rises, but it's important to know how many transactions are actually behind that. So you can see here from the red line, it has been way above 2020 and 2019 before there was even a pandemic ever thought about. You can see I think this was last week or the week before, week 44 of the year. I don't know which one that is. I think that might have been the end of October. There was just in that week, 7,755 property sales that went through nationally. That's a huge number for a week, massive number of transactions. So you can be pretty confident with the results that we're seeing. For those of you that are nervous, saying is there real truth behind these numbers? If you want to break down state by state, you can see here, compared to 2020, no surprise, 45% more sales occurred in the year to date than what we had in 2020. Unsurprisingly, Victoria leads the charge, 62% more sales. Obviously, 2020 was a total disaster and write-off for Victoria, the only state in the country to actually still have the coronavirus pandemic. New South Wales, 37% more, and the rest pretty strong as well. So this really just shows you that these numbers that we're talking about, the results you're seeing on the street, they're not just few and far between. There is a ton of transactions going on and some of the highest volumes that we've seen in a long, long time. Okay, that's pretty much it for the information section. I said it would be short and sharp. They're really just starters to get you going. So those of you that are thinking, you want to know more about it, jump in the Q&A and put your questions in there so you're top of the queue. For those of you that I haven't met before or you haven't joined us, my name is James Maitland. I'm the General Manager here at Salvo. I've been doing this for more than 20 years. And I was just trying to get my slides working again. That's a problem when I decide to share the screen by myself. I've helped create more than 11,500 homes for people just like you on the line. Salvo, what do? We are all about helping you create a home. So we've got a ton of different businesses here. We do a lot of different things, but ultimately everything is, focused around that one goal of helping you create a home. So, it doesn't matter, as I said before, where you are in that journey, first home buyer, investor, owner occupier, just looking to refinance a home loan, we can help you there. Looking to get a tenant, looking to rent your first property, buy your first property, whatever it is, we can help you along that journey because it's all about helping create that home. That's what we pride ourselves on, and that's what we're focused on. Today on the panel, the guys that are going to be answering all of your questions, Greg Arbeck, Jack Gian, and Lucas Karras. These guys have got a wealth of experience, a ton of knowledge. They've been doing it forever. They've got their finger on the pulse. They are on the streets, as we so to speak. They know everything about what's happening. So these guys are looking forward to getting all of your questions. The more involved you get, the more focused you are, the better the session is. So for those of you that haven't put your phone on silent yet, please do so. Give us laser focus, turn your cameras on, whatever it is, because if you've invested the time to be here today, I really want you to get the most out of it. And in order to do so, you need to be focused, you need to be involved. That's how we can give you the most value. This is unscripted. We don't have anything in terms of what we're going to do specifically other than a framework of some topics I've done. So the better the sessions are, typically roll around how many good questions you ask and how involved you are. So I do encourage you to be as active as you can. How do you get involved? Now that I've just given you a quick bit of a touch up about it, it's really simple. There's two ways. The Q&A is the easiest and simplest way. Jump in, put all your questions in there. If you're brave, feel free to raise your hand, so to speak, and we will give you the virtual microphone, put your camera and get you up here on stage with us. But don't be nervous. You can just do the Q&A. It's simple. That's what everyone prefers doing. Okay, it's time. Section 2, that's done. We're going to get stuck into it. As I said, it is 2:45. We'll go for about 20 minutes. It should take us to just after 3 o'clock. So let's get in. Let's get stuck in. I can see on my screen here, I've got plenty of questions coming through. If you've got any questions, as I said, jump in, get them there. If we don't get to them, don't stress. We will hang around at the end, or we will come back to you separately. So feel free to or we implore you to don't ask them anonymously, so we can get back to you. But if you want to hide in the shadows, that's fine too. It's okay. We don't bite. All right. So first question here. I've seen a few people asking as I went through the clearance rates, and I know we've had a ton of emails coming through over the last week. With these results coming through, we talked a bit before, I think in previous weeks, about more and more listings coming on. What, is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What sort of customer type should be excited about this, and who should be a bit nervous about it?
Yes, James. I think we sort of had a look and also talking about the new listing coming up, and we finally have the good results. I think this is a good news for the buyers because for the October, we have heaps of the new listing come onto the market, at least for sale. Let's have a look the biggest market in the country, which is Sydney and Melbourne. So the Sydney had a 32.4% the increase in new listing in the past 4 weeks for the October. And Melbourne also has a good result. And last week of the October, the Melbourne's new listing was the 5th highest week in the year. So I think all those things is a good news for the buyer, because for those who looking to buy on the market now, which means we have a more choice as the more property for sale, which means we have a less competition. As long as we have a more choice, more stock will coming up, and the market will probably more towards to the buyer.
So if you're a buyer, Jack, should you be waiting? A price is going to go down with this, or are you saying just perhaps there's less competition forecast?
No, I would suggest that if you're looking to buy, I would say now is a good opportunity and a good chance to buy. Because if you're waiting for the price going to be dropped down, which is not going to happen, and also it's never happened, the price is only could be goes up. It just like it goes up crazy, or just slowly to goes up. So if you're looking to buy now, I would suggest that because we have a more stock coming up, which means less competition, Plus now by end of the year, I think because the Melbourne has end of the lockdown, I think some potential buyers, they already booked their holiday rather than the shopping for the real estate. So they will miss other less competition. So I think now is quite much more fire market condition for the buyers.
Okay, good. And I guess if you're a seller, maybe just don't be quite so greedy now that there might be a little less competition for you.
I think the seller, don't get me wrong, we will still have the red hot market now. So for the clearance rate, like we shared before, we'll still higher 70s, which is really, really good result. As a seller, I think, of course, if you're looking to the price, which is unrealistic, is not really going to happen now. But if you be realistic for your expectation, the selling price, you will still get a good result.
Okay, good. All right, you mentioned about people booking holidays, and I did see a question here from Ronnie asking about holiday homes and so forth. So I don't know, Ronnie, if you're looking to buy a holiday home. I've dreamed of it for years and years and never taken the plunge. And then when I did think about it in late 2019, like I often do, I procrastinated for a bit. And guess what? The pandemic came, then I got nervous, and then holiday houses shot through the roof. But what's the general sentiment out there now? Can someone sort of help Ronnie? Is regional and coastal Australia still going to keep going gangbusters, or what's sort of happening out there?
James, the very hot holiday home market has started to cool down for the first time since the pandemic started.
Okay. And, when we say cool down, are we saying prices are dropping or just not as much? Jack kind of said there for buyers that maybe prices aren't going to go down. They're just going to be perhaps a little bit slower. Is that what we're seeing, or is there an abrupt turnaround?
Look, not a huge abrupt turnaround. I mean, let's not forget the prices in the coastal and regional area went up to as much as 30%. In Melbourne, the most popular location was the Mornington Peninsula, and we're now seeing a decrease of price in that location of 0.6% in September, which sort of pointing to a slowing down market. So you're not going to see a huge drop, but you see stability and a small drop.
And what are sort of the competing factors that are driving these prices, in terms of people, like why do we think we're going to see prices go up, down, or sort of move around? What are those factors that people should be looking out for? In every different area, I guess, has its own circumstances. What are some of these driving forces people should be keeping an eye on?
Look, at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw a lot of investors moving to those locations. We now see basically all the investors sort of disappeared from that. You've got to remember that now a lot of buyers are reconsidering their decision to buy in a holiday location because the overseas travel is opening up again and the city opens up again. So people also got to go back to work. So and then you got some other factors, James, because you got the huge increase in price that I sort of mentioned earlier. So you've got the affordability issue. You've got the new credit tightening conditions. Again, you've got more listings like Jack just mentioned. So with all these things happening, sort of slows down the market.
Okay. And when you're talking about overseas opening up, effectively you're saying where you might have dreamed of a holiday home, you're now saying, well, you know what? Instead of putting my money there, I'm going to go on that overseas holiday, go to Europe, go to the US, go to wherever it might be, and spend that money on an overseas trip rather than having a local holiday home.
Look, I speak to a lot of people. Everybody's telling me the same thing. Everybody says, well, I can't travel to the beach. I can't travel to my favorite destination. So I've got no option. I'm forced, if I want to see a bit of water, whatever, to go and buy a holiday home instead of flying overseas. This pandemic might stay around for 20 years. Nobody knew. But now with the light at the end of the tunnel, everybody's doing what they love doing, which is traveling, experiencing new cultures and seeing new things and, enjoying times with the family away from home.
All right, good. So, Ronnie, hopefully that answered your question. Obviously, probably look at those key factors that Lucas mentioned for the area that you're interested in, and that should help you be able to interpret what's going on and whether you should be waiting, buying now, or perhaps going just on an overseas holiday yourself. Lucas, just before I leave you, what's the first destination you're looking forward to going to overseas?
Indonesia.
Indonesia. All right, there we go. All right, good. I'll probably see you there over in Bali. I can't wait to get over there and get in the surf again. So I'm excited for that. All right, let's just have a look through some of these other questions. What do we got here? Okay, I can see a few people have asked about super funds. So, I think it's becoming more and more popular as time goes on. I know particularly, the younger generations are more and more about having control. So when we're talking about super here, we're talking about a self-managed super fund. So not if you're with AMP or one of the big industry funds. Obviously, you have no control. They invest your money as they see fit. For those of you that want to have a bit more control, you've got to set up your own personal super fund, a self-managed super fund. And then you do have the option to invest that money as you determine that you want to do, albeit with a lot of red tape and rules around it. And one of those things you can do is, of course, become an investor in property as you might do outside of super. So can someone perhaps break down a couple of the key pitfalls or things to look out for? Let's just assume here, because I did see a lot of people asking about it, saying, how do I do it? What do I do? Let's assume that everyone is a novice here and they don't understand much. Can someone maybe give, the top sort of 4, 5, 6 things that people need to know or should be looking out for if they decide to go down this path?
Sure. Firstly, buying something in your super fund is not straightforward. It's something you can do. You need to get some really good advice and understand what you're getting involved in. Some of the key things is in your super fund, you must have an investment strategy. So once you know that investment strategy, as they say, don't put the cart before the horse. Know what your investment strategy is, then buy the property in terms of your investment strategy. Don't buy a property and then try and rectify your investment strategy to suit the property. So
Greg, you can't fly by the seat of your pants.
No,
most people do and wander out and say, "Oh, that looks like a good property. I'll buy it."
No, definitely not. So that's the first thing. Don't make sure that it's sitting within your investment strategy.
That sounds definitely like a rule made up by accountants for sure. I mean, I think everyone out there would know their accountant always says, "What are you planning to do?" It's hard to know.
Yeah. Then the other thing they talk about, don't put, and this is really to do with the rules of their thing, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So if you suddenly just go and use all your super money and you go and buy one property, it's going to flag something with the ATO. So you really need to be careful again about that, knowing, again, going back to your investment strategy, what does it allow? And absolutely, property is allowed to be purchased, but be careful that you don't flag something which you're putting everything into one particular thing. So that's another key element. I just made a few notes over here. Is also be careful from who you buy it from and in terms of who you're allowed to live in the property. So there's specific rules around that. So you can't go and buy your property from someone that's family or is part of your super managed super fund. You're not allowed to do that. Also with residential property, and Lucas raised this before on a previous thing, you can't rent your property to a family member, even if they're paying rent, unless there is a rider to that, it's a commercial property. So if it's a commercial property, that is possible. So that's just another sort of thing around there. If you don't have all the cash to go out and just buy the property, it does get tricky, but there are ways of being able to fund these things, one of which is what they call a limited recourse borrowing arrangement. Okay, so it's a very fancy terminology, but essentially you set up a trust within it's a trust. So put it in simple terms.
We're already getting you tied up, aren't we, Greg?
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to put it in simple terms. A limited recourse means that if for some reason something goes wrong, they can't attach the assets of the rest of things. So you can use these type of loans. But the key thing is, if I can just get it basically down to basics, is get your homework done. Because if you go to a property and you buy it, not having all these other things in place, it's going to cost you a lot of money getting it back into the format or in the vehicle that you need. You need some financial advice once you put it through. So don't put the cart before the horse. Know what you're doing. Look at how you're going to fund it and make sure you get this all ready before you go out and buy a property.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like music to our ears, Greg. You know, we'd love every buyer that comes in to be well organized, know exactly what they want, have their money ready, have their structure set up, everything.
Yeah.
I guess reality is not everyone's going to do it, but where maybe you can fly by the seat of your pants when it comes to you as an individual, just can't do it with super.
With a self-managed super fund, you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble, and you're going to make sure you've got everything sorted before you go and buy that property.
Yeah.
But yes, go and buy it.
Yeah. All right. Good. And call Lucas, of course. All right. Well, that was good. I didn't get to read because there was a lot of questions from everyone. Hopefully that gives a bit of an overview for everyone. I think the key thing that Greg said there, and I can definitely say, is this is one of these areas where you can't learn this from Google. You know, you do need to have a good accountant. You need to have someone that can help guide you through the setup process, what needs to be done, and then continue to do that annual ongoing compliance. Because, you know, where you might decide not to have lodged tax returns for, 4 or 5 years and then catch up, you can't do that with a self-managed super fund. It needs to actually be audited every year as well. So this is where it's really important to have a good accountant that you can work with and also specializes and understands super. So that's probably the number one thing. You know, if you didn't catch anything Greg said, find a good accountant, someone you can work with, someone you can trust, but importantly, someone that knows what they're talking about when it comes to super. Let them worry about the compliance, and you focus on finding the right asset, the right property, and doing everything that we talk about all the time here, week in, week out. All right, if there's any more questions on super, just put them in. Maybe just write super first and then your question, so I can sort of filter through as I can see anything else, and we will try and get those answered for you. Okay, so let's sort of talk. I've seen quite a few people. I haven't seen anyone ask the questions here, but we did get a lot of feedback on the weekend. So we had a really, really interesting story come out. Now, everything is online these days. You know, the days of having a listing in the paper whilst it still works is gone. And with that, there is a ton of data. You know, it's the information age, as I said at the start. And so these online listing portals, realestate.com and Domain, they house a ton of important information and data. And, you know, they publish a lot of it and give us some insights into it. One of the most interesting things that I saw this week was Domain published some analysis that they found over the last 12 months in terms of the change in search terms that people are looking for. So, you know, you jump on one of these and you might type in the suburb, and then, you know, you type in pool, or, you know, you type in whatever it is, or you filter for 4 bedrooms, 1 bedroom, 3 cars, whatever it might be. They collect all of that data, they process it, they analyze it and put it together. And they put out some really, really interesting analysis recently. So I don't know who's studied that best on the panel, but can someone sort of tell us, you know, what were the big changes? What were the top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5, whatever it is, sort of changes out there?
Yes, James, I had to read that story, and I found that very interesting because it's in related to the pandemic. So it's sort of like the change is caused by the pandemic, and also I'm not surprised because some of the changing in terms of the people they searching for the new home we were talking about before. According to the Domain, for example, the top 2 popular search terms has the biggest rise since the pandemic is pool and study. And secondly, I found another popular search term was duplex and unit. Of course, the third one is it becomes a popular by people when people they search the new home is regional home since the pandemic. So that's 3 group of the search word has a big change, and since the pandemic, people they more have interesting to search.
So, I mean, I guess to some degree, the why, obviously, as you said, the pandemic, but can you maybe dig behind and give everyone on the line a bit of an understanding? Like, what does that actually mean? You know, for example, like, why is duplex and unit sort of skyrocketed in terms of, the number of people that are putting in those keywords?
Yes, I think the reason is, first of all, for the people they search, they study and the pool, which is top two popular search words. And it's because since the pandemic, people they're looking to buy, they realize that they need the bigger space and the lifestyle features. And this is all because I think the remote learning, working from home, and the kids needs the study to be able to learn. So, and that's sort of like the study becomes more popular when people, they search the new place to stay. And also by lockdown, like such as we had before, and we're spending more time at home and with family. So then sort of we're thinking the comfort for your home and the lifestyle is more important than before. And for the people search for the duplex and the unit, this is, I think, is simple question is because affordability now. Because since the pandemic, we're seeing the price is rocket high and they keep rising the housing price. For those people they're looking to buy before, they had a dream home at where they want to be live with all the features they want to be have. Now it becomes unaffordable. So they have to sort of look in the alternative, the option, and then in the same location, for example, the unit becomes more popular than before. So lots of people, they searching for the unit within the budget, within the price. And of course, for the regional home become popular, that's because first of all, we're talking about the lifestyle is more important since the lockdown, since the pandemic. Secondly, I think lots of the Australians, they believe the working from home become the trend. So now they're thinking, now I had the opportunity to be able to keep my city job, but leave the location is far from my work. Of course, it's another reason behind is affordability, is because the price is so high to push them to live further away from the city. So I think that's the kind of the major reason for those keywords, popular words, becomes to be the top after the pandemic when people searching by the new home.
All right, good. I think it's a really, really interesting topic. I mean, I love seeing all of these big sort of tech companies, the data that they get, and it just throws another dimension. I mean, every man and his dog is a so-called expert on topics, but I love to see something with data behind it, albeit it's not an exact science, but it's really, really interesting sort of topic to see, because if you listen to most people, they'd tell you that apartments or units are on the nose, but clearly people are saying it's not the case because affordability is becoming a constraint, and they're doing what they need to meet that great Australian dream of owning their own home. All right, so I noticed we've gone a bit over time. Before we go, I just want to wrap up with, we talk about interest rates time and time again. And I've got to say that for at least the last 18 months, if not longer, I've been telling you, everyone on the panel has been saying fixed, 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 fixed. Take a fixed rate. You're never going to get a better interest rate. They're so low. Now is the time to do it. And I think even when we've seen the data, Jack, I think you talked about it last week, it was 40 or 60% of new loans we're taking out a fixed rate. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So look, everyone's doing a fixed rate, but for the first time in a very, very long time, variable rates are coming down and fixed rates are going up. Now, variable is variable, so it can all just be trickery by the banks, but it is a very interesting position that people are now starting to come with. So can someone sort of break out, like what exactly, does this mean for you? If you've got a variable rate of fixed rates, what can you do? And what are the options out there?
Yes, James, as you said, variable rates for the first time in 3 years, to be specific, are lower than fixed rates. So for all of the people out there, as you said, we've got the variable and we've got the fixed. So a very good decision to do is to have what we call a split loans. So this basically means you have two loans, one with a fixed rate and one with a variable rate.
Okay. And what, if someone's thinking about that, what are some of the pros and cons or things that they need to look out for if they do want to do a split loan?
Well, obviously, having the fixed rate, you always know the amount that you're always going to be paying, because that's what they call it, a fixed rate. It's a fixed rate, right? So the variable, like you said, it could be lower now, but without any warning, it could go higher. So first of all, people have to understand that. Obviously, when you have the split loan, it means having the variable option open. You can also link into an offset account. Now, for those people that don't know, an offset account allows deposits and withdrawals, while it reduces the amount of interest charged on the home loan, which means you can have money available if you need it for any reason, whether you want to have a holiday, whether you want to have children, or anything that might be. Another pro is that you have the ability to make extra payments without penalty, as well as use the redraw facility to withdraw extra payments.
Okay. And so for people that are out there, thinking, well, I want to capitalize on the fixed rates, perhaps they haven't taken our advice yet, they want to take it. I guess we're still saying fixed rates are still really, really good, so don't get us wrong. You're just not seeing the great rates that were there before. Most of the banks are starting to put those rates up. What's something new and interesting that's out there? You were telling me before that perhaps our listeners could use to capitalize on right now if they want to try and lock in one of those good rates.
Well, one of those new things is what we call the option of lock-in fixed rate. So at the time of the application or any time before settlement, you can lock it in. The lock-in lasts for about 90 days, and it costs approximately $750. Just to put a bit of dollar value on it so our listeners can understand, let's assume you're borrowing $500,000 and the rate increases by 20 basis points before the application is processed. That means you could be paying as much as $3,000 extra on that loan. Before we go, I have to say I gave some positives about having a fixed rate, but there is a couple of traps there that people have to consider. So when you have a split loan, this means that you could be paying two fees on two loans instead of one. And this depends, of course, on your lender. Also, if you decide to switch loans or lender during the fixed term, you might be faced with huge break fees. So this is definitely not suitable for owners that are thinking of selling the property before the end of the fixed rate.
All right, good. I know we've gone way over time. I tried to wrap the boys up, but they just kept going and going and going. And I know everyone gets so passionate about it. So those of you that are still with us, thank you for sticking with us. I want to, as I said, just close today's session before I let you all go, just with some thoughts that I really think, with everything we've added today, the value you've got, where to from here? So we've all seen this in various forms before. We're in 2021, 2022 is around the corner. Before we know it, 2023 is there. And guess what? 2024, we might even see the Trump back. So that's why I've left 2024 off for now. But you've really got to set yourself up, because time flies when you're not focused, you don't have a plan, and you're not sure what you're doing. So if you want to actually close out this year strong, you want to move into next year with a plan, knowing what you're doing, then the way that I see it is today was great, and hopefully we've delivered value for you. But unfortunately, what most people are going to do is they're going to do nothing. Now, what do I mean by that? You're going to say, that was great. I should be doing this. Maybe I should be looking at my super fund. Maybe I should be doing this. Gunner. And most of you will do nothing. Now, that's fine. But I just want to say is, remember that if you don't make a change, don't expect a different result. So what I really, really implore all of you to do at a bare minimum, take on board what we've discussed, think about it, think what you want to do over the next 2 months, the next 12 months, the next 24 months. What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to go? What do you think's happening? Take on board what we've discussed, the framework, the methods, understanding the difference between information and knowledge, and take all that out there, go and do it yourself and make those changes and hit those goals that you've got. But what I'd really, really love for you to do is to do it with us. So how do we do that? Well, there's a ton of different ways we can help you, as I said. So we probably need to know a little bit more about you. But I guarantee you that this is what we find time and time again, is that a lot of people, they like to go out there and do it themselves, or they do nothing, they don't achieve much, and they come to us years after and say, you know what, I wish I had come and seen you sooner because I've missed out on capital growth, I've been overpaying on my mortgage, I haven't been getting the rent I needed, whatever it is. So I really, really would love to see what we can do and how we can help you out there. Now, this isn't going to be the right fit for everyone. It is important that you're focused. You need to be prepared to do the hard work. You've got to understand this concept that I talked about of actionable knowledge. It's not difficult, but understand that you need to build your own framework. Everything is specific to you. So we're not relying on the taxi driver. We're building up a database, a framework, a structure for you personally, what you should be doing. And of course, you've got to actually be prepared to then take the action, roll up your sleeves and actually do what you need to do when those things come through. So it's not hard. It is simple, but you've got to be prepared to actually get out of your comfort zone, move forward, do a little bit of the homework, build up your own database. We'll be there with you and help you through our framework. And as I said, there's a ton of different ways that we can help you. But unfortunately, not everyone is always going to be the right fit for us. So if that sounds like you, how can we help you? How can we move forward? Well, I've thought long and hard about this. And I know everyone says to me, you know what, like I've invested time already today. I want to get more out of it, but I don't feel like paying money. I don't want to do this and that. So what I've got for you and what I propose is I'm asking for the smallest possible commitment I can, which is 15 to 20 minutes of your time. And with that, I guarantee that you'll get value out of it and that you'll actually walk away with something actionable that you can put in place straight away. So what I've done is I've set aside time in everyone's diaries over the next 5 days for these meetings, specifically just for these. So everyone's time will be free other than to book these sessions. So jump in if that sounds like you and do it. What do we do? As I said, it's 15 to 20 minutes. It's a quick catch up. We can do it face to face if you're here in Melbourne. We can do it on the phone. We can do it on Zoom. We can do it on FaceTime. We can do it on WhatsApp, WeChat, whatever you prefer to do. Of course, if you see us face to face, I know the boys will buy you a coffee at a bare minimum. If you're nice, you might even get a croissant out of them as well. And what we'll do is just have a general chat with you, understand where you are, where you are on that journey. As I said, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're right at the start as a first home buyer or a seasoned investor, and then really sort of suggest to you, well, I think this is where we might be able to add value. At the end of the day, we don't want to be, a drain on you and involved. If we don't think we can add value and we don't think you're the right fit, we'll tell you up front. Otherwise, we'll suggest how we might be able to help you and what you can expect and what the next steps are. And then that's great. If you want to move forward with us, then fantastic. If you don't, well, hopefully you can take on board some of that information and go and put it into place straight away and help turbocharge your portfolio or your journey wherever you are. So that sounds like you and that's what you want to do. How do you do it? Well, there's 3 ways. There's a link in the chat if you're on Zoom. Your browser page should have been redirected to the booking page. Or lastly, I'll send you a follow-up email after today's session with the link that you can book on that. They do book out fast, so jump in if you want to get your preferred time. Those of you that are joining us from Facebook, I think the booking link is somewhere there on that post. If not, just drop it in the comments and we'll send you that link so that you can book one of these sessions. As I said, they do book out fast, so don't delay and jump in. Now, before we go away, I just want to quickly take a couple of minutes to give you a story about the last holiday I went on in July. This is Hamilton Island, beautiful place of the world. I was there in July school holidays. This is my eldest daughter, Isabella. We were there. We went away for, I think, about 3 or 4 nights. It was short and it was sharp. And Isabella said to me, Dad, I'd love to climb to the top of the mountain and watch the sunrise in the morning. Now, I know that she wanted to do a TikTok. Those of you that know, I love TikTok myself. I thought, let's do it. That'd be great and it'll be a great memory. So that night, I set my alarm. 4:30 was the time I set it for. Sun was about to rise just before 5. Obviously, when you're on holiday, you like to sleep in, but I thought, no, she's excited. She wants to do it. I'm going to do it. Now, what did I do? Like most of us, when that annoying iPhone alarm goes off, what do? We press the big snooze button. I did that straight away, snooze for 8 or 9 minutes, whatever the odd amount that it is, and went off again. Very annoying. I hit off. I said, I'm not doing it. No one else had got up, and I didn't feel like it. A minute or two later, I realized what I'd done. I jumped up out of bed. I woke her up. We got dressed. We had to run to the top of the hill. It was a tough run. It was enjoyable. We got there. We got this photo. You can see the joy on her face. It was a fantastic experience and something that I know she loved. And it's a memory that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Now, the reason I tell you this story is that all of you know how easy it is to hit snooze. I'm sure most of you did that this morning. Very few people that I speak to ever jump out of bed when the first alarm goes off. You've always got the second alarm, the backup alarm, the snooze, whatever it is. But what you've got to remember is that you've got to be prepared to take the action, move forward if you want to achieve certain things. So just like I had to do, I got up and I got this great experience, this fantastic photo. It's something that I really enjoyed. I know my daughter loved. It's something we still talk about. You know, this is almost 6 months ago now, and we still talk about it to this day about what a great time that we had. Now, if you want to be like me, you've got to be prepared to take that action, make those memories and create those experiences. So if you want to move forward, don't delay, jump on and book one of those sessions with someone in my team, because I guarantee you it's the smallest commitment you can possibly make and still be expected to get a realistic result and something that tangible that you can move forward with. So I really, really hope that I see most of you jump on and take advantage of that. As I said, it doesn't cost you anything, and I guarantee that you'll leave that session with something actionable that you can take forward straight away. So that is it. Thank you very much for your time. I can see we've gone about 10 minutes over the time I told you that I'd have you out of here. So I apologize for those of you that had other things to do. Thank you again from me and everyone here on the panel. We appreciate your time. As always, we do this every single Wednesday, rain, hail or shine at 2:30. So I look forward to seeing all of your smiling faces again next week. And thank you very much again.